It's 6:14 a.m. You're already awake. You didn't need the alarm. Your body woke itself up. Because somewhere underneath the tiredness, the anxiety did it for you. You stare at the ceiling. You already know what today looks like. The same road, the same chair, the same inbox, the same slow drain of hours that belong to someone else. You have a salary, you have a job title, you might even have a savings account with something in it, but you are not free. And deep down, in that quiet, honest part of you that surfaces at 6:14 a.m. before the noise begins, you already know that. Now imagine a different morning. You wake up at 9, no alarm. You reach for your phone, not to check emails, not to respond to a boss who messaged at 7 a.m., but to glance at a number that moved while you slept. It went up. You smile, you put the phone down, you go back to sleep. Same world, same economy, completely different financial reality. Here's what nobody ever told you. Financial freedom isn't one destination. It's a ladder, and it has distinct, identifiable levels, each one with its own rules, its own traps, and its own version of the person you need to become to climb it. Most people never know which rung they're standing on, and that's exactly why they stay stuck. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly where you are, and more importantly, what's silently keeping you from the next level. But first, let's talk about the level that traps 94% of people for their entire lives. Level 0, the survival trap. This is where your story probably started, and for too many people, it's where it ends. Level 0, financial survival. The bills get paid and barely. Your paycheck arrives and disappears within days. There's no buffer, no cushion, no margin for error, one unexpected expense, a car repair, a hospital bill, a broken phone, and the entire month collapses around you. But here's what makes level 0 truly dangerous. You don't look like you're struggling, you have a smartphone, you eat out on weekends, your life looks fine from the outside, and that's the trap, because level 0 is invisible, not just to the people around you, but to you. This is called financial bleeding. Not one big wound, 100 small cuts, the subscription you forgot you're still paying for, the gym membership that's been billing you since March, the credit card interest running at 24%, silently, relentlessly, every single month while you sleep. The "I'll sort it out next month" that has been next month for 3 years now. And here's the thing nobody tells you. You weren't handed this because you're careless. You weren't handed this because you don't work hard enough. You were handed level 0 by default, by a school system that taught you calculus but never taught you compound interest, by a culture that celebrated earning but never explained building. This isn't your character flaw. It's a design flaw in the system you were born into. But the terrifying truth? You can spend your entire life here, not because you don't try, but because of one financial blind spot that almost nobody ever names out loud, and that blind spot has nothing to do with how much you earn. Level 1, the first breath, stability. Imagine this. Your car breaks down on a Tuesday. It's inconvenient, it's annoying, but you handle it. You move the money, you pay the mechanic, and by Thursday, your life continues. No panic spiral, no credit card you'll spend 3 months paying off, no lying awake at midnight running the numbers over and over in your head. Just handled. That feeling, that quiet, underrated, deeply underestimated feeling, is level 1, financial stability. Your income covers your expenses consistently. You have 1 to 3 months of emergency savings sitting untouched. Your debt is under control or gone. Nothing is glamorous, but nothing is on fire either. And psychologically, it changes everything. Because for the first time, you have a buffer between you and disaster. And that buffer doesn't just protect your bank account, it changes how you think, how you decide, how you carry yourself through the week. What gets you to level 1 isn't a higher salary. It's one behavioral shift, the ability to delay gratification long enough to build a foundation before upgrading your comfort. That's it. That's the whole secret. But level 1 has a silent enemy, and it will follow you for the rest of your financial life if you don't name it now. It's called lifestyle creep. Every time your income goes up, The apartment upgrades, the car upgrades, the dinners get more expensive. The extra margin that could have become a foundation gets quietly absorbed into a slightly more expensive version of the same life. The number in your account goes up. Your security doesn't. You could be given a $400 raise today. The version of you that reaches level 1 treats it like a foundation brick. The version that doesn't spends it before the month is over and wonders where it went. But here's where it gets interesting, because level 1 gives you stability and something far more dangerous alongside it, the illusion of progress. And that illusion is exactly what stops you from ever reaching level 2. Level 2. Breaking the time for money chain. Something starts to shift at level 2. The numbers work. There's margin. There's actual breathing room in your financial life. And for the first time, you have options. Not luxury, not wealth. Options. You can decline a project that doesn't feel right. You can take a long weekend without the financial anxiety that used to follow you everywhere. You can look at an opportunity and actually consider it instead of immediately calculating whether you can afford to say yes. This is level 2, financial flexibility, and it feels honestly like freedom. But it isn't. Not yet. Because here's the truth you need to hear about level 2. You are still trading time for money. You're just doing it with better margins. The paycheck still has to come. The work still has to happen. If you stop, the income stops. The whole structure is still entirely dependent on your continued presence inside it. This is where multiple income streams begin. A side project, freelance work, a small investment account starting to grow, a digital product generating occasional sales, not because you're greedy, because you're finally starting to understand the income diversification rule. 1 income stream is fragile, 2 is functional, 3 is the foundation of something real. The psychological shift is significant. You are no longer completely at the mercy of one employer, one contract, one decision made in a boardroom you were never in. But here's what level 2 doesn't protect you from. Imagine you've spent 3 years building this. 2 income streams. Breathing room, a sense that you've figured something out. And then the company downsizes. The main income disappears. And because you had breathing room but not a real foundation, the structure collapses. You're back to level 0 in weeks. Level 2 is where most successful people actually live their entire financial lives. And most of them don't realize how fragile that life really is. Because the jump from level 2 to level 3 requires you to let go of something you've become emotionally attached to. Stop for a moment. Before level 3, we need to talk about the wall. Not a wall you can see on a spreadsheet, not a wall built by your income ceiling or the economy or bad timing. This wall exists entirely on the inside, and it is the single most powerful force that keeps you financially stuck. Not for a season, but potentially for life. It's not your income. It's not your opportunities. It's your identity. Underneath the financial goals, underneath the vision of freedom you carry around, there's often a quiet, unexamined belief running in the background. Wealth is for other people. People with different backgrounds, different networks, different starting lines. Not for someone who started where you started. You say you want financial freedom. But look at how you spend. Look at how you hesitate before every investment. Look at what happens when money comes in unexpectedly. Where does it go within 60 days? Watch the behavior. The behavior tells the real story. This is called financial identity lag. Your financial behavior is still running on the programming installed years ago. The money conversations, or silences, in the house you grew up in. The scarcity you watched. The first salary that told you quietly but firmly what someone like you is worth. The outer world changes, you get raises, you learn things, you move forward on the outside. But the inner script doesn't update automatically. And here's the brutal truth. You can know every strategy, every investment structure, every tax optimization in existence. But if your financial identity doesn't shift, you will self-sabotage every single time you get close, every single time. This is the wall, and level 3 is what lives on the other side of it. Level 3, when money starts working for you. Something changes at level 3, something fundamental. For the first time, money is moving without you. Not much at first. Maybe a dividend payment lands on a Tuesday while you're in a meeting. Maybe a rental income transfer shows up on the first of the month regardless of whether you worked that week. Maybe a product you built 6 months ago sells 3 times overnight while you were at dinner. Small amounts, but the principle behind them is enormous. This is level 3, financial growth. A meaningful portion of your income is now being deployed into assets, into investments, into systems that generate returns independent of your hours. You are no longer just earning, you are building, and what you're building has its own momentum. This is the wealth snowball. In the beginning, it barely moves. The returns feel almost laughable compared to your active income. It's easy to lose patience, easy to dismiss, but compounding doesn't ask for your belief, it just asks for your time. And slowly, then suddenly, the returns start to matter. The asset base grows. The snowball moves faster than your effort alone ever could, but level 3 has a psychological trap that quietly destroys more people than almost any other. Over-optimization paralysis. You research the perfect index fund, then you find a better one. Then a book challenges everything you thought you knew. Then you spend a weekend going deep on real estate. Then you reconsider. You plan more. You adjust the plan. You wait for the right moment. You wait for more certainty. Meanwhile, time, the single most valuable and irreplaceable variable in every wealth equation, keeps moving without you. Every month of inaction at level 3 is not just a missed opportunity. It is mathematically expensive in a way that most people never sit down to honestly calculate. The people who break through level 3 aren't smarter than you. They aren't luckier. They simply learn to act in the presence of uncertainty, to move imperfectly rather than wait indefinitely. That one trait, that willingness to begin before you're ready, is what separates the people who build from the people who plan forever. Which brings us to the level most people don't even know exists. Level 4, financial independence. Precise definition: your passive income covers your basic living expenses. Completely. Consistently. You could technically never work again and survive. The alarm clock is now optional. The job is now a choice. The Monday morning dread has no leverage over you anymore because the threat behind it, you need this or you're in trouble, no longer exists. Let that land for a second. Think about what that actually means in your real life. You can walk away from a toxic environment, a manipulative manager, a company culture that's slowly hollowing you out, with zero financial panic. You can quit. You can take 3 months unhurried and unrushed to figure out what you actually want your life to look like. Not what pays the most. What you actually want. This isn't about being rich. This is about not being owned. There's a specific number attached to this level. Your FI number. Take your annual living expenses. Multiply by 25. That's the invested asset base you need, because at a 4% annual withdrawal rate, that portfolio sustains itself indefinitely. If you're living on $2,500 a month, you need roughly $750,000 invested. That number, which felt abstract and impossible 60 seconds ago, suddenly feels calculable, measurable, real. But level 4 has a dark side that nobody warns you about: golden handcuff syndrome. You reach the edge of level 4, close enough to feel it, and you don't cross, because the identity of being a high earner, the status of the title, the satisfaction of watching the number climb, it becomes more important than the freedom itself. You could leave, you have the means, but you've confused the cage for who you are. And so you stay. Level 4 is where almost every financial freedom conversation ends. But here's what those conversations never tell you. Financial independence is not the top of the ladder, not even close. And what comes next will completely reframe everything you thought you knew about money. Level 5. When wealth starts multiplying itself. At level 4, you stopped needing money to work. At level 5, money doesn't just work, it accelerates. Level 5, financial abundance. Your passive income doesn't just cover your expenses, it significantly exceeds them. The asset base is large enough now that it compounds faster than a normal lifestyle can spend it. Every year your net worth grows, not because of effort, not because of hustle, but because of the size and structure of what you've built. You are no longer managing money. Money is managing itself. But here's the part that will break your mental model of what wealth actually feels like. Reaching level 5 does not automatically fix your psychology. You can arrive here with more money than you could realistically spend living a full, generous, expansive life and still feel anxious, still make decisions from fear, still hoard when you should deploy, still feel a quiet guilt when you spend on something that would genuinely make your life better. The wealth arrived. The old software didn't uninstall itself. Picture two versions of you at level 5, same net worth, same asset base. One version lives in genuine freedom. You travel with presence, you give generously, you make decisions rooted in purpose and curiosity rather than fear and scarcity. The other version lives in a more expensive edition of the same anxiety you felt at level 0. More zeros, same restlessness, same unresolved, exhausting relationship with money, just with a larger number attached to it, same financial reality, completely different inner life. And this is exactly where most financial content goes silent, because what separates those two versions of you at level 5 isn't strategy. It isn't portfolio allocation. It's something far more personal, far more uncomfortable, and it directly determines whether you reach the final 2 levels or spend the rest of your life at level 5, technically abundant, but never truly free. Pause here, because everything up to this point has been mechanics, numbers, systems, structures, and those things are real, and they work, and they matter. But from level 5 forward, the game changes completely. The outer levels are built with discipline and strategy. The upper levels are built with something else entirely. 3 internal shifts, 3 upgrades that almost nobody in finance ever talks about. The first, the abundance identity. Not affirmations, not a mindset poster on your wall, a genuine, quiet, bone-deep belief that you are someone who creates value, builds systems, and sustains wealth over time, not by accident, not by luck, but because of who you are and how you think. This identity doesn't arrive when the money arrives. You have to build it before the money comes, or the money won't stay. The second, the legacy lens. The question stops being, what do I want? And becomes, what do I want to build? Wealth becomes a tool, not a destination. Your horizon extends beyond your own lifetime. Your decisions get slower, deeper, and more intentional because you're no longer just thinking about this year. You're thinking about what you're setting in motion. The third, the detachment principle. The ability to take a calculated risk, a real one, with real money on the line, and not be emotionally destroyed if it doesn't work out. Not recklessness, clarity. The psychological steadiness that lets you bet on yourself without your identity collapsing if the bet loses. Here's the observation that should stay with you long after this video is over. Every financial strategy ever created has been written down somewhere. The internet is full of it. Free, accessible, available to you right now on the device you're holding. And yet, most people don't use it. The bottleneck has never been information. It has always been psychology. Because the final 2 levels of financial freedom aren't really about money at all. They're about something much bigger. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Level 6, generational wealth. There's a moment, if you reach this level, when something shifts quietly inside you. You realize you're not building for yourself anymore. Level 6, generational wealth. This is where financial freedom stops being personal and becomes a legacy. Wealth structured to outlive you through trusts, estate planning, business succession, asset transfer, and investment vehicles designed to compound not over years but over decades. The question is no longer, will I be comfortable? The question becomes, what starting line am I leaving for the people who come after me? Think about 2 versions of your family's future. In one version, you reach level 4, genuinely impressive, real financial independence, but it's spent in one generation. Your children start at 0. The clock resets. The ladder begins again from the bottom. In the other version, you build level 6 infrastructure. Your children inherit not just money, but systems, assets, and the financial literacy to understand how those systems work and how to protect them. In one generation, everything resets. In the other, everything accelerates. But level 6 has its own killers, and you need to know them. Poor estate planning that hands your wealth to legal processes instead of the people you built it for. Money transferred without the education to sustain it. Wealth given to people who were never taught what wealth actually is. Family conflict over inheritance that tears apart in months what took decades to build. And perhaps most insidious, the entitlement that can grow in the people who inherit what they didn't build, who receive the asset but not the mindset, and quietly dismantle everything within a generation. Building the money is only half of it. Preserving it, teaching it, transferring it with intention, that's where most families fail, completely, irreversibly. But even generational wealth has a ceiling, because level 6 is still, at its core, about protecting and passing on what you built. Level 7 is something else entirely. It's where money stops being about security and becomes about power. Level 7, complete control. This is the summit. At this level, wealth doesn't just serve you. It shapes systems. Business empires that employ thousands of people whose lives depend on decisions you make. Philanthropic foundations that redirect resources toward problems governments ignore. Influence over policy, over industries, over the quiet architecture of how economies actually function. Every level below this was about reducing your dependency on external systems, reducing the fear, reclaiming the choices that were taken from you by financial pressure. Level 7 is the completion of that entire arc, maximum autonomy, where your financial decisions don't just affect your life, they ripple outward, into industries, into communities, into the lives of people who will never know your name, but whose lives are shaped by the structures you built. This isn't fantasy. It's the logical extreme of the same progression that started with an emergency fund. The Rockefellers, Carnegie, the modern founders who didn't just build companies, they restructured how entire sectors of the global economy operate. They didn't start at level 7. They climbed the same ladder, one rung at a time. But here's what nobody tells you about the summit. The view is extraordinary, and the weight is immense. At level 7, your decisions are no longer personal. Every major move you make carries consequence. For employees, for communities, for ecosystems built around what you've created. Your freedom is absolute, but so is your responsibility. And the psychological weight of knowing that your choices carry that much consequence, that is why many people who glimpse level 7 quietly choose to stop at level 5 or 6. Not everyone wants to carry that weight, and there is nothing wrong with knowing that about yourself before you get there. And now that you've seen every level of this ladder, the real question isn't which level can you reach. The real question is the one nobody asks at the beginning, and it changes everything. Which level are you choosing? Here's what this was never actually about. It wasn't about money, it wasn't about net worth, withdrawal rates, asset classes, or estate structures. It was about choice. About the freedom to design your life deliberately, instead of living it by default. About waking up and knowing that the day belongs to you. Not to a paycheck you can't afford to lose. Not to a system you never consciously agreed to be inside. Right now, honestly, without the version of you that wants to seem further along than you are, you know exactly which rung you're standing on. Not where you want to be. Where you are. Because clarity is the only real prerequisite for movement. You cannot navigate from a location you refuse to acknowledge. The difference between every level on this ladder isn't strategy, it isn't luck, it isn't the family you came from, or the opportunities you were handed. It's a decision, made clearly, repeated consistently, with full commitment to the person you are in the process of becoming. And remember this, because this is the line that matters most. The most dangerous level isn't level 0. It's the level you decide to settle for. You now have the map, every level, every trap, every psychological wall, every turning point, every version of who you could become on the other side of each decision. The only question left is, are you going to use it? Drop your level in the comments right now. Be honest with yourself. And if you're ready to actually move, the next video is already waiting.